Hello everyone, this is Niveta, Assistant Professor in the Department of Food Technology, working in Hindustan College of Engineering and Technology. So in this lecture, we are going to see a topic from the course Food Additives. So the topic which we are going to see is sweeteners and glycemic index. The objective of this lecture is to know the purpose of the sweetener, what are the foods which are produced with sweetener, and classification of sweetener. So what are artificial sweeteners? Artificial sweeteners and other sugar substitutes are nothing but the food additives. They may be produced either synthetically or from the natural source. So natural sources may be the foods which contain natural sweet substances in them from which these artificial sweeteners are derived. So these are added to the food products for their intended roles or functions. So each sweetener will have different functional roles for which they are added in the food products. So sweeteners are majorly used in products such as baked products, dairy products, in beverages, jams and jellies and chocolates. So what are the purpose of artificial sweeteners? So artificial sweeteners act as a complement to caloric sugars and it will be acting as a flavoring agent. So since it consists of calories, it is acting as a source of energy. So apart from these functions, these artificial sweeteners will have other function, especially in the bakery products, which will add bulkiness and texture to the baked products. So the fluffy, bulky texture of the baked goods like puffs, pastries, cakes, etc. are because of this sugars which are added in it, especially the artificial sweeteners. So the role of artificial sweeteners in the baked foods or other foods is something which will prevent it from drying out, especially in the cakes. That is, it is acting as a humectants. Humectants are maintaining the moisture content in the food, which will add some market value for the product. It will act as a preservative in the jams. It will act as an additive in the ice creams because it will lower the freezing point of the ice creams when we add the sweetness to them. And when exposed to heat, it will form browning reactions in the sugars. So these artificial sweeteners or any sugars which are present in the food will add flavor to the food, color to the food, such as adding color to the bread crusts and cookies. It will impart certain functional roles like fermentation because sugar will help to ferment yeast and yeast will get activated when we add sugar. So this is one major functional role of sweeteners. Sugars also contribute to the light and fluffy texture as we already discussed in cakes and other pastry products. So we should not get confused with certain sugars and their labeling in the food products. So calorie is a thing which will categorize the or classify the sugars. So in these pictures we can see a sugar-free product, a sugar-free label, and another picture depicting sugar substitute, and one another picture which is depicting zero-calorie sweetener with saccharin. So and also there are low-calorie sweeteners. So based on the calorie only, the sugar or sweetener types are varying. So artificial sweeteners are majorly categorized based on these depictions such as zero calorie or low calorie sweeteners. Some are also acting as substitutes for white sugar. So based on the previous discussion, now we are going to classify these sweeteners based on their nutritive status. So whether a product or sweetener which you are adding to the food is going to add calorie to your product or energy value to the product or not, or other functional role it is going to possess. So based on these, the sweeteners are classified as intense sweeteners and bulk sweeteners. So intense sweeteners are nothing but those which are non-nutritive sweeteners, and bulk sweeteners are those which are nutritive sweeteners. So intense sweeteners are further classified into synthetic sweeteners and natural sweeteners, whereas the bulk sweeteners are further classified into refined sugars and sugar replacements. So this is the basic classification based on the nutritive status. So if you consume intense sweeteners, you will not get energy out of it, and it will be either a very low amount of energy or zero calorie. Whereas when you consume bulk sweeteners, we will gain more energy, and as well as it will add calorie to our diet. So this is what the difference between the intense and bulk sweeteners. So artificial sweeteners derived from the natural source. What are they? So the natural sugars are also those from which the artificial sweeteners are derived. Some may be zero calorie sweetener, some may be a high calorie sweetener. So the honey, maple syrup, or table sugar, coconut sugar and syrup, agave nectar, barley malt syrup, brown rice. So these are all some natural sugar derived sources. So these will have a difference in their percentage of free sugars present in them, such as glucose or fructose. So when you consider table sugar, it consists of 50% of fructose and 50% of glucose, whereas there is a difference in the honey, where fructose is 52% and 48% of glucose. So this variation only will add a caloric value to the sugars. That is why when we consume some sugars we gain weight, and when we consume some sugars we do not gain weight, or we do not gain calorie when we consume them. So this is where glycemic index plays a role. So glycemic index is something which is based on what kind of free sugar or how much amount of free sugar is present in the sugars or sweeteners which we are using. So stevia, syrup and xylitol, fructose, rice syrup, date sugar, these are some of the natural sweetener sources which are derived from them, and starting from 0 to 100 we can rate the glycemic index. So when you consider stevia, it is something which does not add calorie or which does not contain calorie in it, so it is going to be 0 for glycemic index when we consider stevia. Whereas when you consider refined sugar, it consists of 99 glycemic index rating, which means that it will get immediately converted into glucose or energy when we consume such sugars. So this is the difference between natural sweetener and sweeteners derived from natural sources and those which are refined from them. So the processing also adds some calorie value to the product, since the amount of free sugars in them will increase. So reduced in sugar, low in sugar or no added sugar, these are some labeling terms which are used to attract the consumers. So we should clearly understand each term. Reduced in sugar or lower in sugar doesn't mean that they do not contain any sugar in them, or they do not contain any calories in them. So when you see the notification in the column 1, which consists of calories 120, but the claim is reduced in sugar, but even then it consists of some calories, whereas in no added sugar ice cream you can check it is consisting of 130 calories, because there is a higher fat percentage, and also it consists of artificial sweetener like sugar alcohol, which is 8 grams. So the calories, it doesn't mean no added sugar means it consists of lesser calories, and reduced in sugar means it consists of higher calories. So we have to check for the calories inside the labeling, and we should not be fooled around just by noticing the terms such as reduced in sugar, lower in sugar or no added sugar while buying a food product. So there are some other artificial sweeteners like sucralose, aspartame, or saccharin, which is claiming that no calorie sweetness. Yes, of course, if we consume these sweeteners, it will not add calorie to the body, but this, when consumed in long term, it may cause other disorders such as digestive disorders or carcinogenic effects in our body as these sweeteners are artificially produced. These are some of the references referred for this lecture. Hope this lecture was useful and informative. Thank you.